Welcome back to Your Money, Your Call Retirement. We're coming to you from the FPA Congress in Sydney's Darling Harbour. And joining me now is Neil Kendall, Managing Director of Tuppercoffs in Brisbane, and Michelle Tate Lovery from Unified Financial Services in Carlton, Victoria. Team, thanks for joining me tonight. Great to have you on the panel. Tell me a little bit about your philosophy, Michelle, and perhaps how the industry has morphed over the last 5 or 10 years.
You mean investment philosophy?
Investment philosophy and just advice philosophy, because I think the way people have looked at financial services in the past 5 years with all the volatilities, there's a little bit of cynicism about financial advisors. Would that be right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think the consumer is really not too sure what a financial planner actually does.
That's a good point.
So I think our perspective is it's really about a financial life plan and designing a very tailored approach to what it is a client is wanting to achieve. A lot of people come to see us and they're really wanting to talk about investments first up. I think we have to wind back and understand why they're there, what they're wanting to achieve, what their goals and objectives are, what their aspirations are, and digging a little bit deeper as to what's important to them in their lives. And I think out of that general approach, it makes it easier to give more tailored advice with regards to the investment side of things.
I think those people that haven't been through the process before don't understand the level of engagement and the strength of the relationship that we actually have with clients. I think that's something that I really want to press home to viewers. Neil, you guys take a slightly different approach to where the industry's been. You guys are at the pointy end. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, look, we're very much engaged with clients on a holistic level. We have a philosophy that it's about understanding what the client's trying to achieve and designing a solution. And I think for a lot of clients, the first step is disaster prevention. So let's make sure that nothing bad happens, and then let's add value on top of that. So that's often where we're starting.
It reminds me of a discussion I had with a client the other day. I said my job here is to make sure you don't stuff up as much as it is to make great decisions. So I think that's sage advice. Now, we do have a viewer email here, so let me go to that. It is from Lynn, and Lynn writes, "Good evening, Sam and panel. Thank you for reading this email tonight. My hubby is working away. We have had a suggestion from our financial planner to put some of our self-managed super funds into a Vanguard Index International Shares Fund. We do not know a lot about these types of funds. Is this a good fund to be in, or does the panel have other types of these funds that they could suggest we look at? Love the show and your books full of some fantastic information." Good on you, Lynn. Great to hear from you. We'll actually be talking to Vanguard in a few moments, so we will have an interview from them coming up very shortly. But let's go to my expert, Michelle. What are your thoughts, Michelle?
Well, I think a client needs to start with what they're trying to achieve from the portfolio, which is linked back to their goals. And sure, international equities is a vital component of the portfolio, gives you diversity, etc. But Australian equities, cash, fixed interest and property, all the other components are very important.
Absolutely. Now, we've also heard from Ken Nielsen about diversification. The Aussie dollar has been pretty volatile. We've seen it down in the 80s. It's back up to the mid-90s. International shares. Neil, has been an area that self-managed super fund trustees have avoided. Most of their money sits in Aussie shares and cash. Is this an issue that you see going forward?
Yeah, I think, Sam, it's really important that people have some international share exposure in their portfolio, and your viewer's question, I think, is a great one. Certainly looking at index funds is a very good way to start and get into international investments in a relatively low risk way. The question that your viewer might need to pose back to that advisor is Vanguard offer in fact two solutions, one with a currency hedged position and one with currency unhedged, and that will make a difference to returns as well. So probably a few more questions, but certainly it looks like the advisor's pushing them in the right direction.
Vanguard in fact have a hedged and an unhedged version of their international fund, so that's certainly available for viewers out there, and we'll be talking to Vanguard very, very shortly. The other way, of course, is ETFs. Have you seen a bit of a take-off in ETFs in the last few years?
Look, we're quite keen on the managed fund route. We do like the index for a big basis because you really have a pretty strong disaster proofing built into that, but it's also nice to have an active manager that can add value on top of that as well.
Any chance of being specific? Obviously this is general advice, so we're not going to hold you to it, but what funds do you specifically like in the space?
Look, in the international fund, I think Platinum has probably the best asset management record in the country, and certainly Magellan, who are a more recent player, are kicking some goals on that front as well. So I think they'd be the two you'd look at first if you were considering international investment.
Absolutely. Michelle?
Look, once again, I'll come back to a broader answer. I think it all comes down to asset allocation. International portfolio component of it is very important, and certainly we tend to actually take the passive approach and use both the Vanguard Hedge and International Fund because we feel that's what clients understand better. And as Neil is pointing out, there's less downside, and I think it's really important a client is informed, understands what they're doing, and maybe they have a more active approach with Australian equities or a different component of their portfolio.
I'm joined